You're listening to episode 3 of the Underhook Show. I'm Steve, here with Chris after a brief hiatus, but we are back to talk about all things wrestling, or specifically TV wrestling this time around. But Chris, how you doing? It's been a minute.
Doing great, my friend. How about yourself?
Yep, hanging in there. Doing pretty well. Just as we are speaking, we have fresh in our mind the latest episode of AEW Dynamite. So if that's where you'd like to start, we could do that.
Yeah, that's rock and roll, my friend.
Well, before we jump into this episode, we should at the very least gloss over last week since there was no podcast. A bit, I wouldn't say a skeleton crew show, but they were certainly shorthanded due to the weather. I believe they were in Oklahoma. But some major developments for Kenny as far as Dynasty goes with the double pin. And he actually opened up this week, so I think that's a good start. How are you feeling about the three-way match at Dynasty?
I'm pretty stoked. It's gonna be high-paced. It's gonna be a banger. I don't think they take the belt off Kenny. Like we said, I think we've already discussed it plenty of times. We think it's gonna lead to Okada and Kenny for belt, but maybe they don't do a belt for belt, and this is a way to get the belt, like a transitional thing. But I don't see Kenny as a transitional champion though. So I'm stoked for the match though. It's gonna be awesome.
Yeah, I don't see him losing here, but the way they handled it, I'm almost like, I think Speedball still takes the pin, but Ricochet in there, I feel like they're still very much behind him.
Oh yeah, for
And
sure.
and like we've said for weeks now, it is in his hometown as well. He resides in Vegas right now, but he is from Philadelphia, so there is that aspect to it as well. I think it will be fun. I mean, just given who's in it, but I'm curious to see how they handle the finish.
Yeah, me too. I think it is gonna be Speedball just because he's in a sense the lowest on the totem pole in this match. I guess you could say, in a sense, because Ricochet they're building up all three, or they're building up Speedball too with the vignettes and everything. But I feel like Ricochet has more time in, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and a lot more focus on him heading into this show specifically. It should be fun though. I would like to see Kenny win because I still think we're on track for the title for title, and I still think we're going to revisit Swerve and Ricochet down the line. So I think if there's a belt involved, it'll be the world title, but we'll get to that in a little bit. Other things from that Dynamite specifically, we're finally done. We've washed our hands clean of the Mox and Cope stuff, but we did get the awesome Spike spot, which I thought was awesome.
Oh yeah.
I reiterated myself there.
So my power was out during this because we had a real bad storm here, and my power got knocked out. But I woke up the next day and got to watch it, and that was the first match I went to because after seeing on the internet, I wanted to see that match first, and boy, I said, yeah, that spot was awesome. I loved it. I watch a lot of gruesome deathmatch stuff, and that even made me cringe a little bit.
Yeah, I was trying to figure out how much of it was gimmicked, I should say. Because I feel like if that was all legit, it would have like just absolutely ripped just a chunk of flesh out of his back. But it still looked fucked up, man. Like that still looks brutal.
Like the part where they were pulling it, I just went, why? Nope. I even was like, oh.
Funny enough, because seeing Moxley do these things is not out of the question for him at this point. But it did feel like a nice return to form to see him kind of get the safety police out again. Someone shared today, I saw on my feed, somebody actually sent a complaint into Max.
Oh, I did see that, yeah.
Which are just like, you know what, hell yeah, that's real shit.
They said, we don't like this.
Yeah.
I said, there we go, that's real heat, brother.
Yeah, pretty gnarly to do on TV, but you know what, why not? I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah, I was. It was very shocking to see on TV. It was more like a lot, kind of like along the lines when Nick Gage used the pizza cutter on Jericho,
with the pizza ad in the picture.
So then, it kind of we haven't had a spot like that on TV in a while. So it was a nice little change of pace for a little bit.
Yeah, and that match was exactly what we thought it was going to be. Just an overbooked, just tons of run-ins, and we're done with that international incident. So,
Well, we're done with the Mox and Cope dynamic, but we're still getting the Death Rider dynamic.
yeah, I think though we'll
Yeah,
get to it when we
yeah.
talk about it. But
we probably had the same thought process here. So
I feel better about the whole thing in general.
yeah.
I'll say that. Yeah, 100%. The only other things from that show that I could really think off the top of my head is the Megan Bain push is in full effect. She's getting the title shot now. And judging from tonight, I would not be surprised if she actually wins on April 6th.
Oh yeah, I have it. You can talk about it when you get there, but I had the same feeling, but I also had the same like wrestling rule of thumb. But we'll get to there. Yeah,
the math, yeah,
yeah.
The math is mathing.
Yeah.
I could see that too. They gave the women the main event 2 weeks in a row, which is definitely different for AEW. You know, Dynamite specifically, they normally stick the women's match in the segment before the main event, and it often doesn't get a ton of time. So that was structurally much different. And on the show last week, we got 2 women's matches with significant amounts of time. What do you think of the Billy Starks Mercedes match, or did you get to it?
I did not get to that one yet.
Okay.
But I did see clips, so that's how I got to see it. And I heard it was decent. I heard it was really good actually for a TV match.
I think it was one of Mercedes' better TV matches. And
Yeah,
Billy
that's what I kept
Starks, she really showed out. And I would have never, because I'm used to her just being around in that Ring of Honor AEW kind of sphere, right?
Yeah.
This was her Dynamite debut. She was never on Dynamite.
Really?
Nope. Not until this match. So she made the most of it. I thought it was a very solid TV match, very solid showing from her. And
was she on Collision?
I think she's gotten a couple of Collision
Okay, maybe that's what I'm thinking then. Maybe I'm thinking Collision.
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that was it. Okay.
It's pretty much just leading up to Monet versus Athena, yeah?
That's what's going around.
Okay.
So which is very exciting.
Because she even dropped like a little hint. I heard that when she said Billy's good in it, but if I was the one that trained her, she'd be better. So I said, oh, okay.
And I'm surprised that's on the table so soon because Athena was heavily involved in a lot of the press for All In. You know, she's from that area, involved in those indies and stuff. So that would be a big match. And who's to say that they wouldn't do a series? Mercedes in the past, she ran Statlander 2 pay-per-views in a row. So
both good matches, dude.
Oh yeah, great matches. And I should have assumed that you didn't get to everything given the weather, which luckily on my side of the area, it wasn't too insane. It was just like, I think there was like tornadoes 2 towns over, and then it snowed the next morning. Like, I don't know what the hell's
so
the Midwest. The Midwest is going crazy right now.
Tornado hit the town over from me, but I'm pretty sure one passed. I heard something. I've heard a wind that I've never heard in my 37 years of existence, and I said, I need to get safe.
Yeah. Well, luckily, I hope everything's all good, and it seems like the weather in our area is finally starting to stabilize.
Finally, that seasonal depression's kicking, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, let's get that vitamin D up and running, man. Let's bounce back here. But yeah, it was a decent episode. I think they make the most of what they had. They were definitely shorthanded, and that's why
I did see Will Ospreay versus AR Fox, and I enjoyed that too. That was pretty decent for what they had there.
Yeah, it was fun, and that I'm sure that they've wrestled plenty in the past, just in the 2010s and stuff. I think that because of the circumstances, and there's literally nothing you can do, like with a blizzard hitting, the day before the show. We're only a week out from the pay-per-view now, and I think the build is going to be rushed because some things felt out of place tonight, which isn't necessarily a bad thing.
I had that a lot in my notes. A lot of out of place things.
Sure. And it really felt like to me, like I was watching, for example, the Hurt Business stuff tonight, Hurt Syndicate stuff. I'm like, man, I could tell this was all supposed to be last week with an extra week of build.
Uh huh.
So that's just, what are you going to do about that? But
They did good for what they had, though. In all honesty, I mean, they have a good roster to where they can just have a night of good, just hey, we're gonna just do a bunch of wrestling matches and hope for the best kind of thing.
yeah, and giving the matches enough time as well. Like
Yeah,
nothing felt too rushed.
and shout out to I
Um,
think it was Moxley that drove or
like
Cope
like
or someone
like
drove like
I
a
think he
million
drove
hours.
from Cincinnati to
Yeah,
Oklahoma, which that's not a skip and a hop.
yeah.
That's a pretty let alone, taking the weather into account. Driving, that's probably a nightmare. So yeah, for the love of the game, Mox making that trip by car and then taking that spot, like, which turned the perception around on him from a lot of people online, which I was happy to see because I've been very uh, strong in my opinions that a lot of the worst stuff out of the Death Riders angle is not John Moxley's fault. So I'm glad some people have at least opened up to that idea and be like, oh, maybe he's not so bad because it's John Moxley.
I've always been a big guy, a big Mox guy. Like no matter what, like even in the WWE days when he was in the I was always a Dean Ambrose guy out of all three of those. Like I just liked him. Had a good vibe to him. We'll get to it later. The promo tonight, his end was good, but the other end,
Oh,
he's yeah. I don't.
ooh, I'm interested to
Yeah.
to hear about that. We'll
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 get there.
unpack it, but let's
Yeah.
we can start from the top. Show opens with Kenny Omega wrestling Blake Christian. I'm not a Blake Christian guy,
I used to be.
but I didn't think this was anything offensive. It was just kind of like a match that happened, which for Kenny that's a little bit weird, but at the same time, like, you know what? Let him get reps in ahead of the pay-per-view. Fine by me. Is he from that area?
Blake
Let me look.
yeah, I'm not too sure. I thought he was
It
from.
was such a weird like decision. It was just so out of left field because he's not a regular
I will
AEW guy.
say the hype video that they did, where it was 99% Kenny Omega and 2% Blake Christian, had me dying laughing. I don't know if you saw that, but
No, I
that
did
was
not.
so AEW posted a video and then it went viral because or it was getting shared around because it was a hyping up the Kenny versus Blake match, but it was literally 99% Kenny Omega and like 1% Blake Christian.
Yeah, the most I've seen of him in the last year was his run in the Best of the Super Juniors, which I'll be honest, I thought was pretty bad. And then the hype or the MV with the one song everybody was reposting for a couple of months. But
So so he came up through like GCW is when I found
yeah,
out about him, and I liked him then. But then it didn't really transfer over well to the main, what I'm saying, like a main show aspect. He's good in like he could stay like the Ring of Honor vibe. I feel like he would do good, but like up here, it was just like it's just very random that he just came to fight Kenny Omega. But maybe him and Kenny are boys or something. I don't know.
who knows? I mean, like I said though, I wasn't like offended by this.
Nah,
It was just a run of the mill TV match. But when you think of Kenny Omega, that's not like something you would associate with him. But it's like, you know what? Whatever. It's not something I'm going to be mad about. You know.
it was it
Move.
was one of the things that seemed out of place on my card here.
Well, there you go. And speaking of, if I'm not mistaken, that went immediately into the MJF Hurt Syndicate segment, which butterflied into the tag title challenge.
Yeah, so well, we missed. There was a Jericho promo in between that challenging Bandito for a mask versus title at Dynasty.
Okay, I stepped out of the room for this. I was helping my
Yeah.
dad with
So
something.
during the promo, it was the Jericho cutting down Big Bill and Brian Keith. Hence why you see them later on in the show. And then they leave. He said he challenges Bandito mask versus title at Dynasty. And also we go back to the Kenny thing. The promo that happened at the end, that seemed out of place too. With Speedball, like I get it, like that, but I feel like Kenny was cutting kind of like a heelish promo.
Yeah, I think it was more just to like associate, like for Speedball, I think it was more of him just being like, look, like I'm like we're cool, but when it comes down to business, it's no friends in the match, that it's just a trope. Um, Ricochet was looking extra Andrew Tate in
Yeah,
his pre-tape.
I wrote down
Um,
what did I write down? Ricochet Tate here. That's what I
Dude,
wrote down
what
in
the
my.
like? Ugh, it's like jarring, but I know that's the point.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
congratulations though. He's
yeah,
getting
yeah,
married, so.
yeah. Congrats to him and Samantha and their matrimony. Yeah, I did forget about that.
Yeah, it was really
I
nothing much. It was just speed. I will say I love Speedball Steve's music still. By the way, it's on my Spotify.
Yeah,
It's in my Spotify tunes now. So
I gotta listen to the actual songs. I've only heard it through TV, but it does sound cool. I think, like I said, I'm definitely gonna warm up to it. I just think my expectations were like wishful thinking that they would have dished out for Brass Monkey, but I get it.
I feel like pay per view, like a big show, will get it. You know what I'm saying? He'll shell out the money once or twice for it.
Yeah, I could see that. So yeah, that I did miss that promo. But going on to the MJF segment, this was the one thing where I'm like, this definitely should have happened last week.
Yeah, that seemed very rushed and weird, and uh, yeah, I don't even like the after effect with so you get MJF coming out, calls out MVP. He accepts or goes to accept the offer. Bobby Lashley comes, takes the card, rips it up. But then right after this, you get Big Bill and Brian Keith to come out, and it's just all they're like a smart, very rushed, and
Yeah, I think it was butterflied to where it was okay. We got to set up all these matches for the pay per view, but then it begs the question: what is MJF doing if Lashley and Shelton are defending? Because at first I'm thinking, okay, Lashley and MJF, fine. If this is where they're going with this, but now we're getting this tag match, which on paper I really like the prospect of. My many gripes with the learning tree. I mean, I don't know about you, but we never really discussed it on the show. I am just completely over Chris Jericho at this point.
oh, same, very same.
Yeah.
I am over like him playing into the reason why people hate him. It's not making me like him anymore. Like
Yeah, and it's not heat. It's genuinely like we don't
yeah, it's
like you. We
literally
don't want to see you.
go away. Like
Yeah, yeah.
keep Brian Keith and Big Bill. I like them. Keep them around.
Yeah, they're both great. Especially like Big Bill's AW run's been like
He
quietly awesome.
shout out to him for turning his whole life around, getting healthy too, and just killing it. Like
Yeah.
yeah, it's awesome.
And that tag match seems very interesting to me. I'm not going to harp on this too much, especially with how discourse is nowadays, but something that did cross my mind was as much as I love Brian Keith, I'm like, man, I would have loved to see Ricky Starks bump for Lashley
Yeah,
with
same.
the Bill and Ricky team, but that's water under the bridge at this point.
Yeah,
I think
Ricky over there in NXT. I need to tune into that and see. I don't too
I'm
many
not
hours in a day. So
I'm not an NXT guy at all anymore, so I
yeah,
can tell you
it's not the same.
no.
I do tune in every now and then. I will say to like their pay per views because if it's on, I'll tune in and the wrestling's like I love Javon Evans, DPW guy, but
Yeah, yeah,
but,
and Lucky Ali's on there now
oh, yeah,
too.
he's in that faction right with the Retribution. Nope, that's not them, but you get it.
But it's like from what I can tell from a very out of touch standpoint, yes, it's essentially it's a hacker faction. So yeah,
But yeah, with that tag match though, I have an idea of what I mean. MJF's probably gonna help the Hurt Syndicate win, and that's what's gonna help him join with them. And I'm assuming. I'm
kind
just
of
assuming.
prove his.
Yeah, I thought me and my buddy Josh were watching it today, and we thought they were just gonna jump him in, blood in, blood out.
Hmm. And with Tony Khan's booking parallels to MJF has history of Big Bill, so
Yeah,
um, I could see that as a stretch. Yeah, like I said though, it just feels very underdeveloped, and it's not their fault with everything that happened. But next week's go home, so like you got a lot to sort out in in a small amount of time.
And you have Collision, and then you have a Dynamite, and then one more Collision. So
Yeah, which I've been better about at least
I
parachuting in for some matches, but I did not watch the how they split it into
I
2 nights.
it confused me. I just like I nope, didn't watch any of it to be 100% honest. So
Yeah, I didn't get to it this week. I There was one match that actually looked pretty sick, but I did not see anything about it.
I know Daniel Garcia wrestled Adam Cole on one of those nights, but I can't remember what night that was.
The one I was referring to on paper, it was Hobbs, Mark Briscoe, and Rocky Romero against Takeshita, Archer, and Brian Cage.
Okay, big meaty
Those are a
mess.
lot of those are a lot of wrestlers I like, so I would
But I'll go back and probably have tuned into that.
yeah, that sounds pretty sick. But moving on from the Hurt Syndicate stuff, we got Fletcher versus Brody King in
Don't forget
1748.
the debut of the Thunder Tits. Okay, don't forget
yeah,
that.
man. Since winning the belt, I feel like Tony Storm's been
She's just on another. She's on a bean.
she's very forward with that stuff.
Yeah, she's leaning on it. But hey, I mean, I'll say it. I don't. It's still one of AEW's probably AEW's best character work they have going right now. Honestly,
I mean, people love her, man. I mean, she main evented, like I it's clearly working. So I did gloss over that. I'll defer to you for the whole structure because I did not take notes on the order of the segments.
I literally wrote down like even with his promo, so I got us covered.
Okay, thank you for that one. I hopped in cold for this week, so
professional podcaster over here.
Hell yeah, dude. Again, I appreciate it. So then we got into Fletcher versus Brody, correct?
Yes.
To tie this into the next match, because they really tried to streamline it. I wish they would have taken some time from this and gave it to Hobbs and Mark Davis, because
that's exactly what I wrote down too.
This had plenty of time, which is not a bad thing, but it's more about how they used it, because there was 2 really long picture-in-picture breaks during this match, or at least they felt long to me.
Yeah, I wrote down the same thing. I said these should have been reversed. As much as as much as I love all 4 of these guys, but I wanted more out of the Hobbs, and I like the Hosses, so I want to see Hobbs and Davis go at it.
Yeah, and I thought for what they did, and it says here 2.5 minutes, I was really enjoying it. The Hobbs and Mark Davis match.
Oh, it started off hot, and it was just crazy. And now I also wrote down, does this mean I get a Brody versus Davis match? Question mark. So at some point,
that'd be cool too.
I think we're gonna get a tag match at some point.
Maybe next week.
That's what I'm thinking. Brody and Hobbs versus Aussie Open.
Yeah, I think that sounds like more like a TV match. I don't know if that'll make the pay-per-view.
Maybe a collision.
Or collision. I think that we will get heel Aussie Open, because we did talk about the prospect of that. Because if you noticed, the Dunkzilla on Davis's tights was in the same font as the Protostar branding.
Yeah.
So I think we are heading into, if it's not an extended run, at least something they have in their back pocket, to where Fletcher's regular tag partner is going to be Davis again instead of Takeshita, because Takeshita's kind of doing his own thing. We don't really know exactly what he's not involved in any sort of feud or angle at the moment. But
yeah,
I'm cool to see this. Go ahead.
They're still racking up he's still racking up dubs. That's all I know.
Yeah, and I'm cool to see this, refined version of Aussie Open, where they're both going to be heels and they're both going to be more in the vein of powerhouses, like no pun intended, but Fletcher's a much different wrestler than he was the Aussie Arrow, so I'm open to seeing what that looks like.
And Brody versus Fletch was really good. Just like we said, too, they should have switched the times on him.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even think this needed to go 2 minutes, but for what, it was just a little unbalanced, I would say.
But yeah, and I will. I wrote here. I don't know why I wrote this, but I'm just gonna read it anyway. It says, "Nice dive by Fletch." I don't know if you saw the dive that Fletch did, and Brody looked like Brody smacked his head on the guardrail. But then they slowed it down. Noticed he didn't really hit it, so I was like, "All right, good." And then 5 seconds later, I wrote, "And then Fletch gets dumped on his head as a receipt." So apparently, there was a spot where Fletcher got dumped on his head.
Oh man,
Oh, it was a spot in the turnbuckle where he was supposed to do the
the brainbuster.
no,
Oh,
Brody was gonna do the overhead throw, the belly to belly
okay.
overhead into the turnbuckle, but just missed the turnbuckle.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I didn't catch that, which I need to pay closer attention. But cool finish, like it worked for me to build to that the brainbuster spot. Like the distraction, sometimes it's overplayed, especially like not to compare both companies, but it's like distraction finishes are a lot more common in say WWE.
yeah.
But this one worked for me, and
I did like the
like
stalling tombstone that Fletch hit on Brody. That was nice.
that was impressive. That was really sick. Yeah, I didn't mind this. I do think though that Brody's got to win a match soon, man.
You push this man. You were giving this man. You are pushing him, and then you're not doing anything after. You know what I'm saying? So you're building them up. You're building them up to take L's. All right.
I mean, I feel like again, I gotta check if he's wrestling on Collision regularly. The couple episodes I've watched, he was not, but he took the tag loss before Australia. He loses to Okada, and then he loses here. So I just want more for him.
And then he
I
lost
don't
the
know if he's
Continental Classic too. That's he wasn't really winning in that much. You know?
yeah, yeah. So just I'd like to see a little bit more for him. So, do we have a segment next?
Yeah, it's Nick Wayne as the patriarchy. Oh well, it's Nick Wayne, Mama Wayne, and Kip Sabian. I forgot if it was Lexi or Renee asking, why did Nick get in Christian's face? And all Nick said was, "I see why he did what he did at Revolution," and I walked away. So, all right. Well, no, he said you'll see what happens when a plan when a plan actually comes together, or something of that nature. I feel like it's just a swerve. Nick Wayne's gonna still be with Christian, and
Yeah, I didn't really know what the point of this was yet. I mean, clearly they're not supposed to know yet.
yeah,
But do you think that they're using this to bring Edge and Christian together?
I hope not.
Because I think
But
that's coming.
so what I think's gonna now, yeah, now, yeah, I guess not. Now looking around the future, what happens later in a segment, yeah, I can see that. Gross. I don't want to see. Unfortunately, I don't want to see that. I like Christian solo stuff right now. I don't. You don't need to be out with Cope.
Well, I think the original plan was that the Wembley match last year was supposed to be Edge and Christian against the Bucks, and then Cope did the cage dive and wasn't on the show.
He said, "Right,
So
your epidermis is showing," and he just jumps off the cage.
yeah, so to skip ahead to that segment, I could very well see Double or Nothing being the reunion match against FTR, and then going into the summer to feud with the Bucks, which I'm good on that, but I do not see them being in the same company in this final run and not tagging together again.
Yeah, you're gonna get Edge and Christian at some point in AEW. We get it, especially after the promo with Rated FTR, and we're there. All right, so we'll skip ahead to that because there was only a Hangman interview, and it was really nothing. It was Hangman talking about wanting the title. Swerve gets in his face. We go back to that again. I don't know what we're gonna do with that, if anything.
I think this title match will tell us everything, and on the 6th.
True.
Yeah, I think if they decide to pull the plug on the Death Rider stuff now, I could see them because I mean that's the match a lot of AEW fans want for All In, and I haven't heard any update on Darby either.
He's still trying to climb Mount Everest.
Yeah, so
And
if
and
that's off
that's
the table,
and that's sidebar for a sec. If you're really waiting for Darby to come back, that's not a good look.
yeah, so maybe they do switch it up, which I totally understand at this point. But I'm like, man, I did not want to like admit that the Danielson angle was in vain because of how much I loved it. But the Danielson angle, the purpose of that was to set Darby up to beat Moxley. So we'll see.
Yeah, and I mean, like they were good at always pulling a quick U-turn, and whatever. I'm in for the ride.
Yeah, like I said, we'll have all this speculation, but I think Dynasty will be very telling of the direction of this world title picture heading into the big show. Um, I believe after that was the Top Flight versus Enhancement Talent, which that was just a hometown thing.
Well, we got there's a bunch of segments.
Okay, yeah, hit me with
So
those.
we had the rated FTR video that we discussed, where it was Shivani, Cope, and FTR, and you can tell we're getting FTR is going to turn on Cope. And I wrote down here, Dax is going to beat the dog shit out of Cope, and I can't wait for that.
Yeah, they clearly planted seeds for this last week, which was some development. Like for how much of the show was compromised last week, they did plant the seeds for that.
Yeah. And then the next segment after that is Swerve comes to the ring and calls out Mox.
Oh yeah, the top of the
Yeah.
hour segment. Totally,
Yeah.
totally missed that. Forget. Like I said, I'm gonna get my shit together next time. This was
It's
very
cool, man.
much.
That's why we're a team. I had your
Yep.
back. You know what I'm saying? I
Yep.
wrote down the notes. But
Yeah, I
this,
jumped into the deep end here, so
yeah, that's cool. Yeah, this is what I. This one just seemed a little like Swerve seemed a little off tempo at the start of the promo. That's what I wrote down here. Like it seemed kind of. I wrote down that they meet face to face in the ring, and it just seemed kind of off. Like he didn't really know like have a good tempo to start off his promo. And then I put Mox cut. Mox cut a really good promo. It's just don't. I can see the internet calling or is gonna start calling him out for a quote unquote anti WWE promo. If you can catch what I'm trying to say.
maybe I like the material here though. I like the
Oh, I liked
dig with
it.
yeah, like the dig where he says, you're playing John Moxley on TV.
Yeah.
Um, the barbs that they were exchanging here would suggest that I don't know if they step this up or if they do multiple matches, but for what these two were kind of bragging about or building themselves up to be, it would suggest that we're going to get something pretty violent.
Well, for sure. I wrote down whatever. Mox calls him the quote unquote most violent man or violent wrestler, whatever he said. I said we're gonna get some sort of stip match.
I'm into it, especially with folding in Willow and Marina because they have been taking runs at each other for
Oh,
months now.
I wrote that down too. They get into a brawl. I was like, I'm a big Willow guy, and I like Marina too, so I'm pretty stoked for this.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Oh, I think the world of Willow, especially. Uh, and it's just like she's been grouped into this and isn't getting much as far as being featured. I mean, it's one thing to say, oh, she's in within the world title program, but I just mean for her own. Like, I want to see her wrestling more and get into that world title picture because I think that's well overdue. But regardless, that match next week should be a lot of fun, and I think if it really boils over, then maybe they will tack on like a lights. No, it wouldn't be lights out if it's for a championship. I don't
I
think
feel like a
it has
cage
to
or
be.
something.
It has to be sanctioned.
I feel like it'd be like a cage, like because he keeps saying come out or come without the Death Riders. So I feel like it would be like a cage or something to lock them in, or maybe like a dog collar or something like that. We haven't had a dog collar match since Punk, right? No, I could be wrong.
I don't think AEW's done one
Since Punk
in
and MJF.
yeah. Yeah, and that
Yeah.
was 3 years ago, if you could believe that.
Sheesh.
Um, I don't know if they'll do a cage because they just did one.
Well, yeah, with Osprey
Uh,
and Fletch.
yeah, and they tend to really only do like one a year, maybe two
Oh
a year.
yeah, maybe they'll just do like a falls count anywhere, no DQ or something like that situation.
Yeah, or maybe even a Texas Death Match.
Or yeah,
And
exactly.
Mox is a bit of a kingmaker in that regard. Like I feel like when him and Hangman had that Texas Death Match a couple years ago, it was to position him at the top of the card, which they didn't end up doing. But I could see that for Swerve because I think I was reading that Mox does think very highly of Swerve, and they both come from that deathmatch background. Unless they save the Texas Deathmatch for All In for whoever's in
Yeah,
it,
that's
but
that's what I was thinking too, because like they'll probably do the Texas Death Match in Texas.
yeah.
So I was like,
So yeah, we'll see, or you could always just say, hey, Philadelphia Street Fight.
something.
Um, I do think though I want to see a bloodbath between these two, and like I said, they might do, especially if like Swerve gets screwed, for example. Um, I'm trying to think, hitting in the double or nothing. I don't know if they have anything in place for Anarchy in the Arena yet. The Death Riders seem like a natural fit
Because
for,
yeah, group and group, but
yeah, unless you do like a Team AEW versus Death Riders thing, but then you really have to start getting the pieces in
you had to,
place.
yeah, because you don't really have all you have now is a bunch of people that are going after Mox for the title.
Yeah, which I'm cool with that, especially because in
That's
in
how it
these
should be.
backstage in these yeah, and in these backstage promos, they're already starting to hype up the Owen, which is not for 2 months, uh,
Yeah, I
at
wrote that down
least.
too.
And when you're throwing in Hangman and Osprey and Jay White, it's like those are big names, so it does feel. I think this will be like the most important one. I loved last year's, uh, mainly because I was just so into the final Danielson run. And then we got stuff like Jarrett and Hangman, Danielson Pack, and then like the Danielson Hangman match from last year I thought was spectacular too. So now I think when you're not focusing on one wrestler as much and you're really stacking the deck, it's just going to feel like a bigger deal in general.
But yeah, I always love tournaments. I'm a big tournament guy anyway.
Hmm.
I love the Continental Tournament. When Eddie Kingston went on his little run at the end, and I
Oh
love that
man,
one. Me,
not
I'm
to,
a,
not to get yeah, not to get too off topic on that, but dude, that collision block in that first Continental Classic was amazing.
yeah, that I want to go back and watch that. Like that was some good wrestling there.
All right, well, anybody at Warner, if you're listening, get those
Yeah, I'm still wait
2023.
and get the pay per views up because I'm trying to watch All
Yeah,
In. All right, like,
yeah, yeah. No, I'm with you, man. So then I believe after the second top of the second hour segment, we got the top flight match, which
there was
was
a there
that
was
was just the
there was two more segments after that. Just
man. I'm
one
batting
quick
a
one.
thousand tonight.
Just one quick one with the ops. They caught Max Caster lacking. That's exactly what I wrote down. Because they were in the back. Samoa Joe asked Hook why it took so long to make Max tap, and he goes, "Oh, I was having fun." He's like, he likes to talk crap, and I just like to choke him out. So they caught him in the back, and Samoa Joe choked him out and said, "Yeah, that was fun." I love everything about this.
Yeah,
Oh.
it was fun, and just the ops in general are like hilarious to me because it's just three absolute killers, and then
Wearing Hawaiian shirts.
Joe had that shit on, man. It's like he had that sick Hawaiian shirt on, hooks head to toe in hunting camo, and then Shibata's behind the
Oh,
behind the camera in just a white tee.
absolutely. And
Dude, they're funny, but
and then they ran a Dynasty promo, like a promo video, and
yeah, the vignette was pretty cool. Big Boom AJ was in it.
I did see that, and At first, I wrote down I thought the Dynasty promo was a return video for Darby Allin because I saw a bunch of
Because the
skateboarders.
skate park,
Yeah.
yeah. Mill told me that's a famous spot in Philly. So
Okay.
shout out, big bro.
All right, good. Shout out Big Bro Mill because
Yeah.
I didn't know that, and I was just like, "Is Darby coming back?" Question mark.
Dude, no, I thought the same thing. And I was like, fuck, man. Because he has this quality, and I really only think a couple of people have this. I would say him and Orange Cassidy are two of them. But just when they're featured frequently, the television is just better. I think when
Yes.
Darby's around consistently, the television is just so much better. And I really want him back. And it's just nothing we could do. But
And when he comes back, that pop is going to be insane.
yeah.
I like. It's gonna be nuts, and like when he wins that first title, because you know it's coming, you know he's touching that title. It's gonna be a great moment for him.
Oh, yeah.
Shout out, because I met this dude crazy years ago back at AAW.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then after that, we had Jay White declaring for the Owen, and then it's the top flight match.
Yeah, which again, I kept talking about it, but there wasn't a lot here. But I would just say it's nice to see Top Flight back on
Yeah,
Dynamite.
I said I just wrote down they get a nice hometown love match, and
They had the Vikings purple on.
yeah, did their spots, and then feuded with or just Action Andretti and Leo Rush in the crowd. I said, why do they look like children?
They really did. Not gonna lie. Yeah, I'm with you on that. But yeah, is that like I feel like they've been either on and off with that feud or dangling it around, and it's just they never blew it off.
Yeah, I see that. I like on Collision, like results here and there, that they're always back and forth with it, and then I thought it was like a Ring of Honor thing at first, but I forgot Collision. It was on a Collision.
Yeah, which, like I said, the staggering of the Collision hours with the NCAA tournament totally threw me off. So I will get back to form next week. That being said, do we have anything before the Takeshita Briscoe match? This was match of the night for me. I really like this.
Well, yeah, I also put down match of the night, solid match. Briscoe's a good hand that always put on a good match, so I knew we were in for at least one good match tonight.
Yeah, and he's like one of the best baby faces in the world. And when you put him in front of somebody like Takeshita who can just about be a wall for anybody, it was just like a natural chemistry. I think it was a little bit of a slow burn. Not that it was a long match, but it felt a little dead through, like, at least from the TV broadcast until later into the match, but they got there in the end, I thought.
Yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm still waiting for the Briscoe Gabe Kidd match. That's what I want. I don't know if that match happened yet, but I need it to happen.
Don't know. I don't think they've had a singles.
Because they teased it on either Dynamite or Collision. Gabe Kidd attacked Briscoe. Like they got into a brawl. But I don't know if that match ever happened yet.
I don't believe it did. I think it'll happen soon though, because Gabe Kidd will be in the States. They've advertised him for Collision coming up, and then he'll be in Chicago for the Windy City Riot show. Which,
speaking of, got my tickets, gang gang.
oh hell yeah, let's go! I will, as long as it doesn't decide to snow again.
Yeah, I got tickets for that, and then we're going on the 13th. C2E2, bang bang.
Well, yeah, and you'll be able to. They're doing a booth. They're doing an AEW booth and a New Japan booth, so you can.
Gabe Kidd's gonna be there Saturday, man. I was hoping, but he's on my bucket list. He's one of the ones I want to meet now.
Yeah, no, well that'd be awesome. Then we can have some boots on the ground at the show between the two of us, as long as everything goes as planned. And if you go to C2E2, maybe you can talk Tanahashi out of retirement.
I would definitely try to do that.
Get him in touch with Rey Mysterio's stem cell guy.
Oh hell, we'll get you back in action, boss. Don't worry.
Yeah, we'll get those President Ace. We're gonna get those knees back up and running.
Yeah, you don't gotta go nowhere.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
You'll be
but in all
high fly
serious,
forward in no time.
in all serious though, like that'll be a special night, like we've discussed last week or the week before. Tanahashi is all time, and it'll be nice to have the chance to say goodbye from in the United States at the very least. I don't think I'll get to the Tokyo Dome in 8 months, but never say never.
It's on the bucket list, my friend. We'll get to Japan one day. We'll get there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That being said, do we have anything before the main? I think there might have been one thing.
Yeah, there's two little backstage segments. One's the Death Riders responding to FTR's challenge. Believe they accepted it. I kind of zoned out for a little bit.
Oh, yo, Yuta's looking crazy right now.
Yeah, Yuta looks homeless.
Yeah.
I said my buddy was like, "What is up with his hair?" And I was like, "I'm not his hair, his beard. I don't know what's going on." And then after that, the Hurt Syndicate discussed MJF joining with them. Bobby Lashley and Shelton as MVP.
Right.
You know, but it's just more of a tease, and then they talk about the big bill problem. So
For sure. Yeah, no, I did catch that. I came back. I was unfortunately during a lot of the segments I was in and out, but I made sure to catch all of the matches, which the main event I thought was fine. I think this was more of like last week to really drive home the Megan Bayne push.
yeah, it was a typical, in my honest opinion, it was just a typical women's TV match, unfortunately. But I will say, it was one of my favorite Thunder Rosa matches. So, because
Yeah,
I'm not that big of a fan.
ever since she came back from her big injury, it doesn't seem like she's had a real standout. I want to say she wrestled Tony. It was either Dynasty last year or Double or Nothing last year. I remember liking that quite a bit, but
Yep.
other than that,
Yeah,
I don't have much to write home about as far as Thunder Rosa in 2025.
I the Britt Baker stuff kind of like didn't sell me much on Thunder Rosa because I couldn't tell if it was if it was Britt Baker doing it or Thunder doing it, all the botching and all that happened. And then it's just like her promos really weren't that good, so I really wasn't sold on her. But like recently, like in the past like couple weeks, they've been doing those promos. Like she's been on TV a couple times. I've been like, okay, I'm starting to enjoy her again.
I think she's fine. Like I don't dislike her, but I
Yeah.
also like don't think she's
Horrible.
at the level. I mean, when you are injured for that long and you have a lot of time off, and then you come back and the division is completely different from where you left it. It's hard to really find a place, you know.
Hmm.
And
It was kind of bad too, like the internet just like shitting on her too, though.
I mean, you know, Danielson was always right in saying wrestling fans are fickle because there was all that drama with Britt, and then everybody turns on Britt, and it's just like the snake eating itself. And I'm just like, yo, it's like when you got real shit to deal with in your life, it's like that stuff's not even worth
It's so minuscule.
paying attention to. Yeah,
And like that's why like a lot of that's why I don't like the internet.
yeah, I'm with you. I did read today though. Speaking of the AEW women's division, Mina Shirakawa's wrapping up with Stardom this month.
Coming
Or
home.
next month, I should say. She's done in the World Wonder Ring, and she is signing full time with All Elite Wrestling. So
Hey,
maybe
shout
she'll
out.
finally get booked, because I was not happy with how she was used last year, to where they were like,
In that love triangle thing.
well, they were flying her out to pay-per-views and she wasn't wrestling.
Yeah.
Like
And
she,
I noticed that. I noticed that too. I'm like, she's so talented. Why is she not? You're just using her for. They were just using her for that little love triangle thing, but she really wasn't wrestling anything.
and they blew it off on TV.
Yeah, and then, like you showcased Mariah May and Mira being a tag team. Why don't you have her in more tag matches then? Like,
Yeah, they didn't do much with Rose Gold at all. Because I watched the whole run of when Mina brought her into Stardom, when they did their tag run and whatnot. They ended up winning.
I'm slowly getting into like learning more about Joshi. So
Yeah,
I'm deep diving into like old. I love like old school like '90s Joshi, like Bull Nakano, Aja Kong. So yeah,
I mean that's the best stuff,
yeah.
anyways.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I need to really do the whole deep dive. The last thing I watched, I want to say, was Kandori versus Yumiko Hota from, I want to say it was LLPW 1998. Getting off topic here, but man, just an insane match. They're just I'll link it to you. It's floating around YouTube.
Yeah.
But
It's not off topic.
going
It's professional wrestling, baby.
yeah, I know, yeah. But going back to the Mina thing, like they pulled her from there. Like the Stardom has a equivalent of the G1, like the round robin tournament,
Yeah.
and they pulled her from it, and they announced, oh, she's going to be in the States. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe she'll be involved in the Wembley match, or maybe she'll be on that card, or maybe she'll be on All Out, right? Maybe we'll do Mariah Mina and All Out. And they flew her to Wembley, just to be in the crowd.
Yeah, and then all out. Yeah, I was really hoping that too, because we were all out.
Yeah.
And
Um.
but we got that Willow in the stat match, and that was pretty badass. So I'll take that.
I love that match.
Yeah,
I think
I loved all out. That was a good card.
yeah, that was a really fun show, and I think I'd have to shoot them out, but I think that match might be my favorite women's match in AEW, the Stat Willow Street fight. And I think your contender was the recent Mariah Tony
Yeah,
match. They do the women's street fight very well. They have a good track record.
In all honesty, I think my favorite AEW women's match was the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker lights
The
out.
lights out.
Yeah,
Yeah, to me that was a bit of a forerunner for these hits they've had in recent years, where they show that they're not afraid to go there. And then when you revisit it now with the likes of Stat Willow and Tony and Mariah, it's like they can just build off of it, do something a little bit more concise. I just think I might have like the in-person bias with the Stat Willow match because I had the time of my life during that.
that match was awesome. And now that I think about it once again, nope, that wasn't even it. It was another Willow match. It was the Willow and Chris Stat versus Sky Blue and Julia Hart, right? And it was the No Holds Barred tag match. You remember that one?
Yeah, and Willow's been in a couple of them. I want to say there was one where she did the power bomb off the stage, but I think Anna Jay was in that one.
Yeah, and she missed the table completely. Well, I mean, it was an accident. It wasn't like anyone's fault, but I was terrified for Anna Jay's skull. But it was the one I'm thinking of. It was they dressed up in like the.
That was against it was Mercedes Martinez and Diamante.
Okay, where they dressed up as like I'm thinking like Pulp Fiction type shit.
Yeah, no, that match ruled.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. That one is my top. Yeah, 100%.
No, that match is awesome. No, I'm with you. I think like I said, I think I prefer the Stat Willow in Chicago. But
there's so many though to name.
They rarely miss with those with the women's plundered brawls. I will say that. That was Dynamite. I'm going to just pull up the Dynasty card here real quick just to see if there's anything new that we may have missed on. We'll do a full preview next week as it will be Go Home, if you can believe that already.
So crazy. That's like, I'm so used, like, I'm still, like, not, I'm still on the other, in the other company, I'm still waiting, what, a month? No.
Yeah, like a little less than a month.
A little less than a month for their pay-per-view. And they're still building up for that.
Yes. So at the moment, there's only 4 confirmed matches. This is through Wikipedia, so as always, take it with a grain of salt. And if they're taping Collision tonight, no, they're not. They're doing Milwaukee. So live Collision, I'm sure they'll add more because I don't think they're going to just hit you with like 6 to 8 matches on Dynamite. From the bottom, Death Riders versus Rated FTR for the trios titles. I think, say what you want about Cope. I think this will be fine, given that it's multi-man, and I'm just excited to watch the Death Riders wrestle again. I can't even remember the last time them as a unit were on TV in a match, I should say.
Yeah. Um, I don't remember last. Yeah, you're right. I don't remember the last time I even seen Pac wrestle with either Claudio or Weeder. Weeder with Yuta.
Yeah, and it's just like on paper, I love that idea of those three as a team. I would love to see a Pac and Claudio tag team run too. Just because they're both, I mean, Claudio especially is historically one of the best tag wrestlers, period. But I'm open to this match. I understand there's some fatigue with Cope, especially, but I would say, like, you can get around some things when you have all those moving parts. So I'm not too against it.
Yeah, we kind of know the outcome.
Oh, yeah. However, when you look at the main event, you could do something with this match to get rid of that interference
Yeah.
because they're wrestling earlier in the night. I would assume. I mean, it would have to be AW. Almost never puts anything after the world title. So
Yeah, no. They or and that's just the women's title. But if it has to be a major championship.
right.
But
Uh,
I now that you say that I can see that now. Eliminating the Death Rider for the main event.
yeah. Then after that, Timeless Tony Storm defending against Megan Bayne. You know, I've said it earlier, but I could really see him just going with it, man. Like, if you really, really, really want to establish Megan Bayne, I feel like they mission accomplished with Tony Storm at this point.
Yeah. See, I'm like indifferent. Like Tony just got that title. Do they take it right off her again?
That's the thing too. I feel like neither of them should lose at this point, but I could also see it going either way. That's one up in the air for me, but I'm almost thinking with my gut, just belt up Megan Bayne, because then she has this established feud with Stat. You can give Stat the world title shot. If Willow's done with Marina, you can put Willow in there. And it's all these, like the Hoss fight, so to speak.
Yeah, I can see that.
Although she did just beat Stat last week.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think
There's a lot of there's a lot of ways they can go with it. So
it's interesting for sure, and I think just like the men's world title, we'll have a lot more clarity as far as what the summer holds after that match. Then the three-way for the international championship we talked about. The one that's not on Wikipedia, but it's all but confirmed, is the Lucha de Apuestas mask versus title. At first, I was thinking mask versus hair, and I'm like, damn, Bald Jericho would be hilarious. But
I would laugh so hilarious.
But no, he's not gonna. He's gonna protect himself however he can. So
yeah, I'm kind of hoping that Brian Keith or Big Bill turn on Jericho, and that's what cost it.
Yeah, because this was such a strange thing. It feels like for the second time in a couple of years, they put the ROH title on Jericho to try to secure a TV deal. It just hasn't happened. And this time, more than any, it just felt like the wrong thing to do because they had him beat Mark Briscoe twice, use Jay's death for heat, and you don't get the TV deal. It's like, what are we doing?
Yeah, I'm just tired.
It's nasty work.
Yo, but that little kid did serve him. So
yeah, I saw that. That was hilarious. And it's like, but he's probably like, oh, I got heat, brother. It's like, all right, dude.
You don't.
Then the world title, which we talked about in the segment. I'm sold on the match though, man. Like, I know that they've had a singles in AEW already in the first Continental Classic, but that's a big time match, especially now. Like, Swerve has really elevated himself since. So I am excited for this main event.
It's going to be bloody.
Like I said, if they do a good old bloodbath, I think it fits these two more than any of Moxley's challengers up to this point. And something that I don't see people talk about enough with this Moxley reign is that he does not bleed anymore. And I think that's by design.
He's I was talking about that with my buddy. is ever since he started the Death Rider thing, he doesn't bleed anymore. He doesn't do any of that. And then it's because that's him trying to be like a quote unquote heel, you know.
Well, yeah,
And
it's like it's like you have to work for it. Like
yeah, you have
when
to
he does when he
make
does
me
Blade
bleed.
again, yeah, when he does Blade again, it's going to be a big deal. Which is funny because he used to Blade every week. Um, but when you look at somebody like Swerve, I mean, now I think now's the time to do it. And if you don't have him beat, then I think, oh man, that's gonna, like I said, that's gonna be ugly. But the reaction to it. But I'm excited for the match. I'll just say that for now.
Yeah.
Um, I'm
If
trying to.
if Swerve doesn't beat him, or if you have Mox go over, and you better have a big plan. You better have Darby coming out there right after that. You
Yeah, because
know,
if you don't
you
want to wait
sent
for the stadium, like that'd be great for Double or
you
Nothing.
can't send the crowd home mad back to back pay per views.
I'm with you. Um, yeah, I think the only time he's bled in this run were both on. Well, the spikes thing. I mean, it's unavoidable, even if a lot of them were gimmicked.
Yeah.
But the one time it happened unintentionally, it was the World's End 4-Way when he took the table bump wrong and he like split open his neck. Or it was like the back of his head.
And all that blood was just gushing down.
Yeah, but they made a point to protect that. But I think Swerve's in a position where he can get away with being the first guy to draw blood from Death Rider's Moxley. But that'll be next Sunday, April 6th. So next week on the show, we will do our previews, our predictions, and hopefully we'll have a much more fleshed out card by that point. I mean, you would think.
I would assume we would have more of a meteor card. Well, I'm trying to think of maybe what else they could throw on there. Maybe a tag team title match. Probably the
Yeah,
like
I think we'll get the Hurt
Syndicate.
Business. Or yeah, I keep calling it Hurt Business.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
it's fine.
Yeah, it's same thing, but it's just
I
we're
still
gonna
call I still call Cope Edge, but it's okay.
me too. But it's just we're gonna get Hurt Syndicate versus the Learning Tree, the two good branches of the Learning Tree, and I'm sure Mercedes will we might get Mercedes Athena by that point if they can.
Yeah.
Which again, that's one match you and I have been looking forward to for a long time.
I love Athena.
Overall, me too, man, and way overdue to have her on TV and pay-per-view.
I feel like I read an article where they said they were keeping the belt on her too to try to get a TV deal too.
Yeah, which I do also think if we're doing this belt collector thing, I could see it being title for title and Mercedes getting the ROH belt, which I know some people will be upset because they've been essentially building it to be Billy Starks to be the one to beat Athena for like 2 years now, and she lost both matches, but I don't know. I just think the matches will be good, and that's a lot of my main concern, especially with these shows. So
unfortunately, at this point, whoever you put the Ring of Honor title on, it's not going to mean anything.
Yeah, but I will say that I don't watch the Honor Club show regularly anymore. I do still parachute in for Athena stuff, and I'd say her last year, it didn't have the conventional great matches like the first year, but what she got to do was have a lot of fun matches and really flex her brain as far as just being creative, trying different things out. So I think when she is a regular television wrestler again, she's going to have a lot of things up her sleeve. So if you haven't been paying attention to Athena in the time being, dear listener, I would say just be ready because she is going to shock a lot of people. And I say that with the hype behind her coming back too. Like I think she is going to really impress a lot of people.
I've always been a big Athena fan. That this year, that 4-way match in Japan, that match or that she was in or no she wrestled. I don't think it's something.
She was in that.
Yeah, she that match was really good. And that was the start of the year, and it's been rocking. I can't wait for her because her and Mercedes are gonna go crazy.
Yeah, I think as we talked about before, sometimes Mercedes needs the right dance partner. But I think Athena does. She's a miracle worker with anybody. Like there's the floor for that match is very high. Is the point I'm trying to make. But I'm looking forward to it 100%. I hope it happens. So then we'll have a lot to talk about. Then, do you want to talk about the World Wrestling Federation?
Dive in for a little bit for.
Yeah. We're at now. We're not gonna go too long. I have been tuning in a lot more than I have over the last couple months, and I took your advice, and I not only watched Gunther Axiom, I went back and watched his last couple TV matches.
Right. What do you think of the Gunther Axiom match though?
The best match on SmackDown, fuck, in a year.
Yes, sir.
The only one I could think of what that really touched it was the AJ Styles Randy Orton King of the Ring match, which was like May of last year.
I don't really remember a lot of matches from SmackDown, but I remember segments because it's a TV show, so I'm gonna remember a lot of segments.
Mm-hmm.
But I watched that match. I went back and watched it again. I said, "Yep, I liked everything about. Give me more of this on TV."
Yeah, SmackDown especially. You know what? To their credit, they did the Rey Mysterio Kevin Owens match at the very start of the year, which I remember liking quite a bit. But yeah, SmackDown to me, it does not need to be 3 hours, and that's why I don't watch all of it. But this is the case where having the extended time really helped because this was a fully fleshed out wrestling match with two really good pro wrestlers. Like it doesn't have to be hard.
And I will say, lately I've been liking the product that they've been putting out, like some of it, not all of it, and the international crowd is just making me love every bit of these episodes lately.
Oh yeah, I love the European football singing.
Yeah. And then
I'm a big soccer guy, so like that's right in my wheelhouse.
When they were doing the Fatu chant, I loved everything about that. I just loved it. I loved the crowd is what made these shows phenomenal. But that Gunther.
I mean, yeah, he's Walter, man. It's fine. Like
Yeah.
call him what you want. I get it. But
That match blew me away, and I texted you right away. I said, "You need to watch this, brother."
yeah, so this morning, knowing we were going into the show, I watched quite a bit of wrestling before Dynamite. I watched I watched them in chronological order. I started with the Tozawa match from late February, which was only 2.5 minutes, but was still really good.
Shout out to Zawa.
They don't give him a lot to do, but he's still a really good wrestler. It's a shame.
He doesn't get enough credit at all.
Well,
Listeners, if you're listening, check out some of his PWG work too. He was good in there.
the PWG excursion and all of his stuff in Dragon Gate, which Gunther mentioned, he winked at it. Like he did a wink and a nod. He said, "I'm opening the gate," which all their titles is like open the Dream Gate for their world title, open the Twin Gate for their tag belts, etc. So he did a little Dragon Gate nod, which I love me some Dragon Gate. So that's
one
really
company that I need to dive into. That's the only company I don't really know much about, to be honest.
I think you'd really like it because the blanket term for it is Lucha Res, because it's Ultimo Dragon started it.
Oh, hell yeah!
And it's like a lot of junior heavyweight stuff, and it's just a ton of fun.
I know Danielson had a run over there for a little, right?
He did Dragon Gate USA.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrestled Yamato at Congress Theater of all places, which is not
Wow.
a building, anymore. Yeah, that's a deep cut.
Condemned. All right.
But if you're from the Chicago area, you'll know about that.
I'm gonna deep dive into this.
Yeah, it's such fun. Like it's faction based. There's a ton of lovable characters. So many fun matches. Like I really started watching Dragon Gate last summer, and I have not regretted it whatsoever. But they did a nod to that, which I appreciated. And then he did it again with Axiom, because he said there's a kid back there.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, there we go. And then they mentioned Testator mentioned the promotion in Spain he was working for, at the time, and I'm like, yo, like they're busting out all deep cuts here. This is really cool. Like, you know, it's never like, oh, like WWE, like just mentioning companies outside of them, but it's like when you're going like that deep with it, it is really cool.
I
And then
love the new era that we're in all honesty, because back when, like, in the 90s, or the Attitude Era and stuff, they never brought the other companies up.
I think when Io won her first world title, they said like from the world of Stardom to the top of the world or something
Yeah.
like that. So I'm like, yeah, hell yeah, like that's nice. The one match in between the two though that I didn't see many people talk about, but I love the Gunther Otis match.
Yeah, I'm a big Otis guy. To be, and unironically, I
Yeah,
don't.
no, he's great.
Yeah, like I want, like, but we discussed, like, I love the Hoss guys, so I'm like, I loved Big Walter, and I mean I love Walter now too, but
Yeah.
Big Walter had a different aura. Like,
Oh,
you know,
yeah, he's
it was, and I'm all for people getting healthy, so I understand, I get it, but
yeah. I mean, he said himself he just wanted to trim down for TV, but and
yeah,
like test himself. But it's like he did the whole transformation. But
he went full throttle and did amazing. So shout out to that guy.
what I will say,
That was who too. Also,
oh yeah, he looked a lot different last decade for sure. At least before signing. Um, I will say this though, he still feels like Walter, which when he got called up to main roster, I was a little worried about that. Uh, but like Gunther matches still feel like Walter matches as much as they can.
yeah, and
And I think that's why it works so much because there's nobody like him in that company.
yeah, no, he's one of a kind in that company for sure. Maybe,
I mean, he's special regardless. Like he's still
yeah,
one of the best wrestlers in the world. I'm not taking that away from him whatsoever, but it's like when they let him do his stuff, it's like it really leaps off the page compared to like the house style, I would say.
his shotgun dropkick is still one of my favorite shotgun dropkicks.
Cuz he's just a massive
Yeah,
dude hitting that shit. It's like it's crazy.
I'm just like,
Um
you are way too big to be hitting that move, but hey, shout out.
but yeah, I really did like that run of matches and it it's nice that they're revitalizing him heading into Mania because it just doesn't feel like he's had a lot to do. He wasn't on the Rumble, he wasn't on Elimination Chamber, and he's a world champion
And
on
then
Raw at least.
now we're getting him and Jimmy, Big Jim.
Big Jim. Yeah. Hey, I mean, I always feel like, you know, with these USO matches that you could really make Gunther look out to be a killer,
Oh,
which
for sure.
I don't think they're going to absolutely murder Big Jim because I think he's going to win the US title at Mania, so they're going to protect him to a certain degree.
Yeah.
But I think the whole point is that he is going to make an example and really twist the knife. I'm I'm like take mentally I'm completely out of this build because I it's just like we at some point you just need to see the writing on the wall and like just accept what's going to happen because I'm almost in the frame of mind now to where look, do I want him to lose the belt to Jimmy Uso? No. But it just do we really want to waste 4 months of television at this point? Like he has to win.
Yeah, so my thought about that is the same as yours. We know the writing's on the wall, the inevitable, but also Triple H also likes to throw random curveballs at some point, so you never exactly know. Like Walter might win the belt still, and we might waste 4 months of TV. It wasted a Royal Rumble winner, but I think it's transitional for sure. We all know that a Kofi Kingston style title run. Uh, where do we go from here? God only knows. Uh, I also would like to say, about the build, I wasn't interested until just recently when they started using that botch into the storyline.
I don't really know how to feel about it because I get it, but I'm also like, like it just. How much of the internet stuff do you really want to bring into it?
But if they don't do it a lot, is what maybe I should preference. You see, what
Okay.
I'm like
Yeah,
because
I see your point of view.
because
No.
like if they do it like oh, he's doing it because he's getting nervous now. It would make sense because you're trying to build up that Jey Uso is untouchable, and we know he's not. You know what I'm saying? So
So
now if
so
you're just
you
making him more like a real dude, and you're making him like be the underdog, and then
you present
maybe
him as more vulnerable to
yeah,
get
and
the
then
people more behind
and
him.
then maybe it was too late now. It's way too late. You've done it 4 months. You built this man up to be like Super J.
That's the thing, though. It's like I don't. I think it backfired to a certain degree because now a lot of WWE fans, and when I say that, I mean like just people who only really care about WWE, are starting to turn on him. Not in the buildings per se, but definitely like
Yeah,
outside
like
perception, which to
the
them,
the internet is turning on him, but still top merch, like one of the top merch sellers. So I mean, I don't.
yeah. So I think they're gonna just stay the course with it. Um, I like I said, this is like a foregone conclusion to me. But who knows, man? Gunther is still one of the best in the world. Who knows what
And
he can deliver.
and
But
in all honesty, you don't have to put the belt on Jay. You're still gonna give him his moment. You know, his title match. It's not gonna be a main event. You're gonna open the night, but
yeah, no,
yeah, like we've already, yeah, you are night one opener, bud. You are,
mhm.
but if you're gonna do another title, like if you're gonna, do you think on the other side they're gonna take the belt off Cody?
Yeah.
So then
Well,
I don't think you need to take the belt off Gunther then.
yeah, we'll stick the pin in on the Cena Cody stuff for just a couple of minutes, but because couple of moving parts here. Before we talk about any more of Mania, I will also say that the other thing I watched from this week's Raw, I watched the Gable Dragon Lee match.
Gulf of America.
All right. That's a whole can of worms in and of itself.
Mm.
I feel so damn bad that
For Chad Gable?
as soon as he signed that extension, they have just
Mm.
they've just shit on him.
You could have put the title on him. You could have put the world title on that man.
He's so good.
You could have pulled the trigger.
It's just like
That match with
look, yes.
him and Walter. Oh,
Like yes, the optics of this whole thing are terrible and it shouldn't be happening. And just the whole time I'm watching this, I'm just like, yo, like you could have had him like don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna go against having Sammy to be the one to beat Gunther. I love that match. Sami Zayn's still one of the best baby faces on the planet, in my opinion. But I'm just like, man, the second he put pen to paper, they've given him nothing, and now he's in a comedy gimmick that has
I had so
questionable nature, to say
much.
the least.
I had so much hope for the American Made. I had because I love the Diamond Mine. I love Ivy Nile. I love Chad
Same,
Gable.
same,
And
yeah.
I'm like,
And then
I was like,
the
ooh, they're gonna
creeds are
put the,
super
yeah.
promising.
I was like, they're gonna put the belts on the creeds. Maybe put the maybe like Intercontinental or the Intercontinental on Ivy, and then you could put the world title on Gable. Oh, you didn't want to do that? Oh, you wanted to go the opposite direction. Oh, okay. And then not even do what I thought. What's the point of doing the lucha thing now if you're not feuding with Penta?
Or I mean, even if you do, like Gable Rey Mysterio would be awesome, but I still can't shake the whole idea of like if Gable finally gets a featured singles match on WrestleMania and it's with like a lucha parody gimmick. Like this is just I hate it, man. I'll be honest. I'm out on this. The match was still good too. Like him and Dragon Lee have great chemistry. And it's nice to see Dragon Lee getting like regularly featured on television again. I'm just like, dude, what the hell is this? Like I'm sorry.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I don't even have nothing to say because
Yeah, we can move on.
yeah,
'Cause we were talking about how Jay Gunther has to open one night. Now apparently that is the case because the Punk Shield triple threat is on.
we called that one from I It's WrestleMania night of triple threats because there's another triple threat that I could presume is gonna happen.
Yeah, I think they're doing the whole like similar like Rhea's kind of doing the Becky Lynch thing where she's gonna force herself into the
Mm,
match. But
that and then there's another one that kind of unless they're gonna okay maybe not.
I saw like there was like it was reported they're gonna do like an Intercontinental
That's
Championship
the one I'm
multi-man.
thinking.
Which the only way, besides obviously this is all to get people on the card, get their Mania payday, you know,
Yeah, you're
good,
gonna
good,
have,
good.
but Dom's gonna be in that match. Dom's gonna win that Intercontinental title.
Well, I was almost thinking like if you're ready to put the big belt on Braun, he doesn't have to get pinned to lose the IC belt,
Exactly.
and then you could just move him up the card.
But then, but I also heard they're teasing to do Finn and Dom at Mania. But how you do that so quick? Well, not
Yeah,
quick,
I
but
don't. I'm out on the Judgment Day stuff personally.
so quick little recap of Judgment Day. There have been Finn's been going crazy with. I've been going crazy with Dom more or less. Like,
And they're talking about like bringing in another guy, right?
yeah, they want to bring another guy. Dom wanted to bring in Penta. Finn didn't like that idea, so that's why Finn and all them attacked Penta at the end of Raw.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Braun Finn was main event, and I just skipped it. I'll be real.
Yeah, Penta Braun wasn't bad, but it was a smart. You know what I'm saying? They didn't get a
Yeah,
finish,
it's just a
so
shit finish to build
uh,
to this multi man. Yeah, you can see what they're doing. I think I'm really worried about this Mania build because now we can kind of talk about what will be the two main events. Simply because uh after Monday, Cena is not announced for anything, and I don't know if Roman is either, and that's big problems if you're not having these guys around. Punk can carry a majority of a build, and like I do think for my problems with Seth Rollins, I do think he does bring the best out of him on the mic. I'll say that. And you can always have Paul Heyman as a surrogate. Paul Heyman Punk stuff I'm always here for. Um I get what Cena's doing, but I'm like, yo, if you're gonna do that, you need to be around.
it, I'm with you on that one. Because after this London one, he's not scheduled for another anything until what Mania then, right?
The Raw after Mania will be his next TV. So
Yeah,
nothing.
that's crazy.
So there has to be a big angle, excuse me, or something needs to happen, or maybe we do get the actual back and forth. How do you feel about these Cena segments now that we've had two of them? If we had some time for them to digest, like where are you at with heel Cena
I
right
like it.
now?
I like it. It's not too much. It's simple heel, simple. I'm the victim. You know, I did like what he said. He said you're not gonna get any new merch because no matter what, you're gonna buy it because I can see you in the crowd wearing it. And I said, dude, that's a good sales tactic right there. So,
Well, yeah, I couldn't even get one in Indy. They all sold out. But I would say a couple of things. I read that in a couple of ways, right? The first being is that it was reported, maybe it was Meltzer, which again, take it with a grain of salt. I don't remember the source, but the turn was originally planned to happen at Mania, so they had all this merch designed, and they just needed to print it. But also, as soon as he turned heel, everyone's like, "Oh, they brought up the interviews where he said he had like all this heel stuff planned in 2012, and that's what they expected." And I think the whole point of this Cena heel run is that he's going to go out of his way to defy those expectations. So when you're expecting new music and you're expecting a new look, he's not going to do it. He's going to do what he thinks is going to mess with people.
mm,
So yeah, that worked for me too. I wasn't feeling the first promo. It felt very strange and like no mention of The Rock in either of them, which I just more think that was The Rock inserting himself into this than him actually being a part of it, which doesn't surprise me. But last week's got me. Like I was feeling it more the second time around.
yeah,
It was a little bit more fleshed out. I think and like I said, it would make sense if he wasn't planning to do all this until late April, early May, and he did kind of have to rush into it while he's out filming stuff and not totally committed just because he has so much stuff going on. Uh, this second one felt closer to the finished product, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I can understand that. Um, both of them were good. The first one seemed very scripted, more or less. Just I did like the camera pan to the kid in the crowd. Shout out to that kid because that kid did an interview that my buddy sent me. I didn't watch it yet though, but
Man,
but he said that Cena was still his hero, so that's awesome.
yeah, and edit that is, and I think we just still need a little bit more to put me onto this match. I'm excited to see what it looks like because Cena just hasn't worked as a conventional heel in quite some time. I think he's going to take a lot of shortcuts, but going into this Raw, it's like that. There's a lot riding on it. If this is the last we're going to see of Cena before this match, so big stakes there. Just because like you really got to do something big. I think if that's it for. I mean, we're gonna have what 3 weeks of TV after that. Yeah, so that's a lot of time. On the Punk side of things, Friday, which I also believe is in the UK, we're doing the contract signing with all three in the ring at the same time. And I want to really see Punk with a live mic because we didn't get a ton of that last week. It turned into that disjointed brawl, to say the least. Real quick, before you finish your thoughts, could you just give me 1 second? Okay, we are back, and we were just talking about heading into this contract signing segment on Friday.
Yeah, so Punk with a live mic with all three of them in the ring and Paul Heyman. They're probably gonna tease more about that favor, you know. So
And going back to Monday, Punk, he didn't outright say it, but he goes, "I'm getting closer to what I want." So I think the favor is going to be that this will main event night one.
yeah, because he wants to get that main event, that WrestleMania main event.
Yeah, it's really all he has left to do. So I would like to see it happen. The match,
In all honesty, it's the one of the best storylines they got going, feuds wise. Why not main event night one? Because I do not want to see Walter and Jey Uso main event night one. I can tell you that.
no, and there's a lot there, historically, and I also don't think like 99 times out of 100 Roman either goes first or last.
Yeah.
So I could see that behind the scenes that playing into some things as well. But I think the next time you and I are sitting here talking pro wrestling, we will hopefully get some more to chew on between these major programs because it just feels like they're not fully in the deep end with these programs.
Yeah, no, I think we're not even like tip of the iceberg with some of them. In all honesty.
Yeah. So look forward to that. Heading into the next couple of weeks before we wrap up here, because we are at once I edit, around 90 minutes. Next week we will have the Go Home Dynamite as well as the preview predictions for AW Dynasty. We did not get to DPW this week, so keep your eyes peeled for that. And then it'll be very eventful going forward because we'll have the Dynasty review in 2 weeks. We will have the Windy City Riot right after that. And then we're staring down the barrel of Mania week.
Can't wait. And then the collective, all the indie shows. I'm stoked. I don't know if you saw the Bloodsport card or the people coming into Bloodsport.
It's like star-studded. They got a lot of big names.
You got my man Peter Dune. Let's go.
My guy Shinya Aoki from DDT's in there. He's a ex UFC fighter.
They got Killer Cross is coming back. Gabe Kidd.
Zach's on it.
Yeah, Zack Sabre Jr.'s on. It's Natalia. It's gonna be nuts, man.
It's definitely some interesting names to say the least. I'm more so looking at the other side of the indie shows between DPW Prestige. Dragon Gate USA is coming back. Like they're running a
I
show.
did see that. I'm also the weird for me. My weirdness, the Spring Break, loved it. Joey Janela's Spring Break.
Yeah, like we'll have all sorts of stuff. April's going to be loaded. So if you've been rocking with the show so far, thank you so much. We will have a lot to discuss over the next coming weeks. Before we go, you can find us on socials at Outer Stevon and at The Loserweight. And for a cheap plug, real quick, a new video on my YouTube channel, Matches Worth Watching, covering the first half of November is up now. So if you're listening on YouTube or on any other podcast platforms, thank you so much for your time, and we will talk to you again next week.
See ya.